Welcome to another episode of A Scribe Scribbles. Today we're going to talk about that weird instance when you're starting a rough draft and it becomes difficult. We'll also cover tips and tricks to help you be confident and prepared when you sit down to write. So stick around, we're going to talk about that. It may not happen often, but sometimes when you sit down to start a new project, you have a moment of blankness. And I'm not really talking about writer's block. Just a moment where you sit down, you're looking at the screen, and nothing happens. And it doesn't matter how excited you are about the new story, there's going to be this moment. And sometimes this moment will last long enough to make you quit for the day. And it can lead to have you rethink the whole idea that you're trying to get out on paper. Now, if this has never happened to you, I need you to pay attention, because at some point it will. And even though this episode is aimed more towards the first-time writers or the writers that are doing their very first novel, even seasoned writers can have this effect. And as I've talked about in the blog this week, the number one remedy for this weird phenomenon of not knowing where to start is preparedness. So what exactly does that mean? Well, we can be prepared. We have our ideas down. We have our notes. We're ready to go. And you're thinking to yourself, it's just the rough draft. Just get the words out. And in my 5-draft method, I stress this. The rough draft is not the most important draft in the entire process, but it is a very important draft to get done. It's the draft that gets everything going. So you have this mental thing that, I need to get the story out. I need to get it going so that I can edit it and start making it better in the upcoming drafts. And for the most part, we really don't think about the rough draft as this big important thing. And it really is. It really is more important than a lot of people give it credit for. And of course, every aspect of the writing process is that important when you're at it, at that time. But the rough draft, if you aren't mentally prepared, can give you this moment of pause. It can give you this weird instance that we've been talking about where it's difficult to even start. So there's many reasons for this, and there's actually too many reasons for me to list. We would be here for a few hours. But the idea here, to be quite honest, is that it can be anything from a fear of the unknown all the way to just thinking about the future. You sit down and you're like, man, when this story's done, it's going to be the greatest book ever written. And and those are good thoughts to have, and you should be thinking about the future and where you want this story to go. But at the moment, you need to be writing. And sometimes it comes up where you just can't. So preparedness then is less about the writing and more about the mindset. And I talked about it in the blog, but a writing routine is one of the best ways to get into this correct mindset. For example, a baseball player who's getting up ready to get to the plate to bat. Once he's called, he has to go to the on-deck circle, and he may have this process that he goes through every time. Put the helmet on, grab 2 bats, walk to the batter's circle, swing both bats back and forth, stretch a little, drop a bat, and swing just one bat until it's time to go to the plate, or whatever his little process is. But he does the exact same thing every time. Golfers do it. And if you watch baseball or if you watch golf, you can see this happen. A golfer will approach the ball. They'll measure the ball. They'll look down, the fairway at where they want their shot to go. They'll notice their distance markers. They'll take a couple practice swings. They may do some funny little footwork to get everything situated, wiggle their right foot, plant their left foot, bend at the knees, and this whole process. And if you just watch the process, it may look kind of funny. But what they're doing is they're going through this little mental routine that everything is always the same. Every time they approach the ball, every time the batter gets up to bat, every time the quarterback gets behind the center before the snap of the ball, they go through the same routine. And the reason that you do this is because it becomes a habit, and you know that it's a good habit because every step that you're taking in this process helps with the final goal. So in writing, you should have the same routine. And I have my own routine, and I did outline that in the blog as well, but I will cover it quickly here. I start out when I know that it's time to write, and the first thing I do is make coffee. I don't write without my coffee. So I'll brew my pot of coffee, I'll make my cup of coffee, and I'll come to my office and I'll sit down at the desk. And then I get my notebooks out and my pens, and I make sure that they're open to where they need to be. And I boot up the computer. And while the computer's booting up, I go over my notes. I go over my lists or my to-dos. And whatever my writing task is for that day, whether it's, for novels or for copywriting or for any other of the work from home stuff. And I go through this same process of making sure that I'm on the right page in my notebook. I have my notes, I got my lists. And then when the computer's ready, my notes are ready, I sit down, I adjust my chair, I make sure everything's comfy, and then I get to work. And I do the exact same thing in the exact same order every single time. Routines are important because they do give us this sense of this is about to happen. I'm going through this routine, and when I'm done with the routine, it's time to get to work. You may have a similar thing when you go to bed. If you take your shower and then you put your pajamas on and then you brush your teeth and then you go to bed and you get all comfy in bed and then you read for an hour and then you set your alarm and then you turn the lights off and go to sleep. Whatever your process is, you have a routine and you do the same thing over and over and over again, and doing it for your writing will help you prevent this rough draft blankness that can occur, because it puts you in the right mindset. You know that you're being prepared, you're getting prepared to write, and when you're done with all the prep, it's time to write, and your mind is ready, here we go. But once you have your routine down, it slowly becomes a habit, and it becomes second nature, and you don't even think about it anymore. You just do it. You go through the motions, you go through that. You make sure you have your coffee, you make sure you have your notepads out. And you sit down, and when all this is done, you're like, yes, it's time to write, and you get to work. And you really avoid that frustration that can come with this rough draft blankness. But there's a couple other key aspects that you need to think about in addition to whatever your process is going to be. One, you should make sure that you have a quiet place to work. Now, whether you like to write in, extreme quiet, no sounds at all. Some of you may like to have a radio on or even the TV on, some kind of background noise. That's fine. But you want a quiet place where there's no distractions. So you don't want Facebook coming up on your phone. You don't want emails coming through and stopping your process and making you check them. You don't want the dog having to go out for his morning walk. You want all of that stuff done and put away so that when it's time to write, that's all you have to worry about and that's all you have to concentrate on. So you want to turn your phone off. You want to shut your office door. Whatever it takes to get this time to yourself. And this can even include letting your friends and family know, hey, between these hours, I'm working, I'm writing, you need to leave me alone. I know that when I'm writing, I put my phone on silent, and then when I only check it when I take my writing breaks. If that works for you, do it. Other people might need to have their phone on, what if the school calls or something. But you want to be as distraction free as possible. And once you have this quiet time and you have your routine, you're going to find that when it's time to write, you actually are ready to write. You're both physically and mentally ready to just get into it. But what happens if you don't have the time? One of the things that leads to this rough draft blankness, as I've obviously come to call it, is that your writing times may be sporadic. Maybe on Monday you wrote in the morning, but on Wednesday you wrote after dinner. And while trying to find time to write can be difficult, it's important to try to write at the same time every day. And it all goes back to this habit forming, second nature type of routine. You don't necessarily go to bed at different times of the day. You do dinner, you get the family situated, make sure the dogs are taken care of, you watch some TV, whatever, until a certain time, and then you start your bedtime routine. The same thing should be done for your writing. You want to try to keep everything as consistent as possible so that it makes this routine more of a habit and less for you to think about. So when you go through your routine and you have your time, and if you don't have time, let me back up. If you don't have the time, you need to make the time. And this could be simple as setting your alarm and waking up earlier than you normally would and writing in the quiet hours of the morning, or postponing your bedtime and staying up later. You could even extend your lunch break and write on your lunch break or right before you have to make dinner. But you don't want to really do it when there's something that's time critical going to happen afterwards, because as you know, there are going to be times when you're writing and you don't want to stop. So if you do one of those, I'm going to write an hour before dinner, and you really get in the groove, then all of a sudden you have knocks at the door because everybody else is hungry because you haven't stopped to make dinner yet, and now it's almost midnight. Those are bad situations to be in, so we want to avoid those. But you want to try to schedule the time where you know you're going to have this time. And if you only have an hour, if you have 2 hours, and then you go over it, you don't want to be in such a rush for the rest of the day or whatever comes next, that it starts to frustrate you. So plan a time where when you're done, you can be done, but while you're writing, you're not worried about other things or what's coming up next. So you want to get in your routine till it becomes habit, and that way when you do sit down to write, you'll be like the batter or the golfer, where everything you've done is automatic. It comes, and all you have to do is just get up there and swing. And when you get to that point, you'll find that the routine helps you get in the right mindset. The preparedness of having your notes or your outline or your visual web help you with the actual writing. And everything combined prevents you from having this rough draft blankness. tomorrow I will be releasing the newsletter, and I'll be asking you in the homework section to explain your routine. And if you don't have one, I'll explain a little bit more of why you need one and how to come up with one, and then have you share those. We're also going to have you share your routines with the podcast crew on extradef.com, and you go to the podcast once you've registered for your account on the site and access the forum there, and let us know what your routine is. Or if you don't have one, if you've tried this and it didn't work for you, and find out what other people are doing, and maybe their routines will be something that you can piggyback off of and try to find your own. And also an announcement, speaking of the website, there's now a contest going on for the 5-Draft Method ebook that will be out on June 1st. If you go to the website, extradraft.com, you'll see a sign up where you can win a free copy of the ebook. It's a totally free giveaway. You sign up, and every sign up will be an entry. And once you're signed up, you can have other people sign up, and as long as they use your email address as the referral link, you will get a bonus entry. I will be holding the drawing for the winner on June 5th. The winners will be announced in the newsletter. And I'm also going to extend this. So the top 5, I'm going to pick 5 winners. In the top 5, the first 5 winners are going to get something. Obviously, the first winner will win the free ebook. Second through 5th place. Then the next 4 that I pick will receive coupons for a drastic discount on the ebook. So go to the site, sign up for the newsletter, and get your entry in for the free 5-Draft Method ebook, and then share the heck out of the link that you will get. Make sure whoever signs up that you tell to sign up has your email address, so you get the bonus credits. And good luck to you on that. Look forward to this contest. I've wanted to do something special for the release of the ebook, and I thought, what better way than to give away a copy. I might even give away 2. We'll see how frisky I'm feeling come the 1st of June. But until then, we'll see you next week. Sign up for the contest. Look out for the newsletter. Make sure you read the blog. Good luck in coming up with your writing routine. And as always, have fun and write words.